future scheduling philosophies for Nebraska. And head coach Matt Rule has discussed this. Trev Alberts has discussed this. I know our friend and colleague Tom Chattel spoke with Matt Rule about this as well. Just kind of their philosophy going forward on scheduling.
Yeah, Rule's philosophy.
And, Nebraska right now does have long-term non-conference series with Colorado, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and Arizona.
Is Cincinnati in there?
Cincinnati, we got the El Toro Bowl coming up next year.
That'll be fun.
In 25.
Okay.
The El Toro Bowl in Lucas Oil Stadium. That's a one-off neutral site game. But, could these games go away? Matt Rule, I think, would rather play 3 kind of developmental games, knowing how tough the Big Ten is going to be every year.
No, that's what he told Tom. Yeah. That's what he told Tom.
But what do you do? Do you get out of these contracts then if you're Nebraska? Like, what is, some of these contracts are far down the road.
That's the question. That's the question that a reporter, Sean Callahan, Sipple, somebody should ask Trev.
It costs money to get out of contracts, though.
Right. So how locked in are they would be a question. I mean, Sean, just get down to it. Are you actively, Trev Alberts, seeking to get out of these games per your head coach's comments to Tom Chattel, which I mean, to paraphrase Sean, Rule said, and again, I'm paraphrasing, that with the Big Ten as tough as it is, why play a marquee Power 5 opponent that could beat you up in September
and derail your season?
It could derail your season. Yeah.
In a place like this, it does derail your season.
Yeah, when it can. And so he said, like, if you're going to play Washington and Oregon, now that Washington and Oregon are aboard, along with the rest of it, why play a game, for instance, against Texas? Why do that? Now, there's a lot of people, Sean, that this isn't to me, the interesting part of the conversation is sort of a function of our age, your age, my age. And remember when Nebraska was this, we'll take on anybody, anytime. We'll take on all comers anytime. Wasn't it? Didn't it used to be like that more, at least from the players?
The parity hadn't hit college football, though. That's the difference. They had the biggest army with the most weapons and tanks back then. Now everyone's got equal armies, and there's
not everybody has equal armies.
But
our army's not, the Nebraska army's not quite like Georgia's.
But I'm saying, like, Power 5 football teams, like Iowa State was Power 5 in that era, but they weren't.
Right. That's true.
You could roll in there and play a poor game and win 51-14. Osborne had one of his worst losses in his career to Jim Walton.
But it was a one-off. Missouri, when Missouri had Woody Woodenhofer, I can remember those games distinctly. They would come in, and I would be sort of taken aback by how slow Missouri was compared to Nebraska. Like, there's no way they can win this game. There's just no shot.
Even like in 99, Kansas almost beat Nebraska. Newcomb ended up winning that game in Lawrence in the fourth quarter. Had a couple catches and a punt return. You just kind of always knew, like, Nebraska would figure it out and win those games.
Right. So your suggestion is different, but Matt's comments to Tom were interesting. He's, as you know, Rule's very transparent. So he says what he's thinking. And now my question to you would be, is what Rule's saying, does it jibe with what Trev wants? Because Trev is the businessman in this conversation. Rule's not a businessman. Trev's the one who has to worry about the bottom line. He has to worry about how many people are in the stands. And sometimes, some people are going to look at it and say, hey, I don't know. Are we really going to play Furman again? Who are we playing here? We're playing UTEP in Northern Iowa. Are we going to have a marquee opponent, or are those going?
Yeah, away? But what's not good is not getting the 6 wins, and they've got to build schedules to build like what Fred Hoiberg's done on Nebraska basketball.
Right.
They built a schedule to get momentum.
Absolutely. And I think now here's the thing, just so you know where I stand and where people know where I stand. I have said for some time, lighten the preseason. You're in the Big Ten. You're getting brutalized in the Big Ten. It's a tough schedule. I am basically with Rule. It's sort of a hard sell though to some people. Like, especially when you start backing out of contracts, if that's what they're going to do, which I don't know. I don't know that they're going to do.
Well, if the SEC staying at 8, and they will be for at least a year or two, you're at a disadvantage with the SEC already.
Big Ten is.
But yeah, I think if the Big Ten is going to get guaranteed 4 playoff bids, which if this thing expands and changes, that could happen. It doesn't even matter anymore.
What do you mean it doesn't matter anymore?
Like the out of conference games. If you know your league's going to get 4 playoff bids.
So you're saying that
take care of business in your league, you're going to get a playoff.
An SEC team could lose an early game against a non-conference Power 5 team and not worry about it.
Yeah, because if you're 4th place in the Big Ten or SEC, you're going to get in the playoff.
Right. But so Rule, now here's the thing. I wonder this, if Rule's tune would change, say he gets to Nebraska back to being a consistent top 10, top 5 team. I don't know if Rule's tune would change on this, but mine would. If Nebraska's back to where it's a consistent top 10 team, then I would say, if I were the coach, let's play some big time non-conference teams.
The problem is you schedule these out so far. I mean, this Tennessee game was scheduled decades ago.
A long time.
I mean, and they've kicked the can down the road like multiple times. So what we know is Colorado's this year. The next year is the El Toro Bowl in Indianapolis.
They're playing Cincinnati
on August 30th.
Okay, that's awesome.
But they've already kind of lightened the load after that. They have Akron and Houston Christian. I mean, I consider myself an expert of college football.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of Houston Christian.
Nor have I. Now, hold on. So they play Cincinnati, Akron, and Houston Christian. Okay, now here's the thing. What if you said we're not playing Cincinnati, we're going to play
Northern Iowa?
Yeah, would that go over okay?
A 3-0 is 3-0. I mean, but
I don't know.
But Houston Christian it reminds me of like a team that would be like in a movie, like there'd be like made up colleges, like Big State, and
I've never heard of
Houston Christian. I mean, that's kind of what they're going for. But after Houston Christian and then the Cincinnati schedule in 26,
okay, yeah, where
they have Ohio, and then they play Tennessee,
okay,
and then they have North Dakota. Then in 27. They have Northern Illinois in Lincoln. Then they go to Knoxville on 9/11 on 2027. So,
and we don't know who the third opponent is.
No, third opponent not set yet.
That's enough. I mean, I would see if you're playing Northern Illinois and Tennessee, that third game should be a Houston Christian. Okay,
Big State.
Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble for saying stuff like that, but I am bent the way Rule is on this. Don't play Tennessee if you don't have to. Don't go to Knoxville if you don't have to. Don't do it.
2028, they play Arizona and Lincoln. They have South Dakota State on there too.
See, sometimes those games can be a little harder.
And who knows what FCS football will look like by that point. I mean,
good point.
I mean, the Power 5 has just gone in there and robbed it. I mean, the good players are leaving to go up to Power 5.
Now, in some cases, though, some players off Power 5 rosters are going down. So
then Oklahoma in 29.
Yeah.
So that's on the schedule. And that's one of those game of the century kind of anniversary series. And then in 30, Nebraska has Oklahoma again with South Dakota State. In 31, they play Arizona in Tucson. So it's always fun to do how old you'll be in 2031.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's not fun for me.
I'll be 51 in Tucson.
Yeah.
You might be living in Tucson by 31, and I'll just come see you down there.
If I'm not, I'll be traveling up to the games from Paraguay and then going back.
2034. So they don't have any in 2032 and 33. Oklahoma State, 35 Oklahoma State. But again, if you're Matt, can you the average shelf life of a college football head coach right now is 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, he's not worried about 20.
So I think we're looking at Tennessee. I think that's the one.
Yeah,
the El Toro Bowl is going to happen.
Yeah, I just wonder if you would call Trev Alberts right now and say, "Are you still going to play this Tennessee game?" What the answer would be.
This seems to be the one that would get blown up.
The answer probably would be, "We're not commenting on scheduling." Because it's tricky. It's a tricky thing.
And maybe Tennessee doesn't want to play it either.
That could be.
I mean, maybe they don't want to come up here. They come up here first. What if they come in and it's a madhouse and they get beat by Nebraska. Like
these are fascinating discussions because it gets to mindset. Where I'm coming from is Nebraska is still in the early stages. I'm not going to use the word building, but of becoming Matt Rule's program. And if Rule feels like right now it's not in Nebraska's best interest to line up against those sort of teams, those Power 5 powerful programs, it makes sense. I have a feeling though his answer to Tom was more strategic. It was more about the playoff. Why we don't need to do this. The Big Ten, if we're successful in the Big Ten, that will get us in the playoff.
But do you know who needs better non-conference games? There's 3 people.
Who?
Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Yeah, they do. Matchups.
And guess who's paying the bill on a lot of this?
See, there you go.
Those
Sean.
3 people.
Yeah.
And so if you told Fox, hey, or CBS or NBC, would you want to air our game with Houston Christian?
Right. No. So and that's where I mean, that's where Trev is more. I mean, he's the one who has to deal with that.
Tony Petiti be like, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Scheduling Houston Christian 4 times.
Well, that's what our head coach. Well, I don't know that Rule wants that, but Houston Christian. But anyway, it's a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, we'll be in the playoff expansion too. It's right now at 12 for 2 years.
Right.
But after these 2 years are up, there's a lot of things on the table to watch.
Right.
There's already discussion to expand it to 14. And then the Big Ten and the SEC want to increase their auto bids. They would like to go to 4 bids. I mean, speculation is they would like a model. If there's 14 bids, 4 would go to each of those 2 leagues. So
they would get 8
of the 14.
I read that in your 3-2-1 column. That just seems almost preposterous to me.
But they can.
How can they make that stake?
Well, what if Florida State's in the Big Ten?
Well, I got it.
As the more teams,
they always want to flex. I mean, these conferences want to flex, and we want to say they got all the money and all the TV power. So I guess that's what we're talking about.
And if these leagues don't play by this, those 2 leagues could start their own playoff.
Yeah,
they have the leverage.
Yeah,
like, do you think the Big 12 and the ACC, if Florida State's out of the ACC and North Carolina's out of the ACC, they have any leverage in this thing?
No, I don't. I just. What I always come down on this stuff is, and this is what I was thinking about when I was reading everything today, it's remarkably unappealing, especially for someone who once saw college football in all its glory. And now we're talking about this. Well, what if the SEC and the Big Ten just split off? I mean, wow, that's what it's.
You know who's getting the bad deal? Notre Dame.
Well, yeah.
So the current model,
yeah,
you have to be a conference champion to get a bye.
Yeah, they don't get a bye. They won't get a bye in
Notre Dame to win a national championship will have to win 4 playoff games.
No bye.
Ain't happening.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
Oh, I don't know about that, but no bye under any circumstance.
In the current model, if Notre Dame's number 1 in the country, they wouldn't get a bye. They'd be a 5 seed because they're not a conference champion. What if the SEC and the Big Ten make it where their payout model is higher than the other leagues? If they control 8 of the 14 spots, they're going to control more of the money.
Yeah,
so those teams are going to get a better payout than the other leagues. Notre Dame is going to get a lesser payout as well. How do you think Notre Dame's going to react to that?
Not well.
So will that be what finally forces Notre Dame's hand
to join a conference?
If anything, I think if they joined a league, it would be the ACC.
Really?
I think it's safer for them.
They're already
in it.
Yeah.
And look, if Florida State leaves, it's set up for them to win that thing. Like,
there you go.
And then, but if they lose out on getting a bye, I mean, that's a big deal.
I'll be interested to see how the fans comment on this future scheduling as it applies to Rules comments.
As long as we get that trip to Indy next season, not in the 25 season, you're happy.
We'll take it one season at a time.
And then in Tucson, when you come up and visit me from Paraguay, that's going to be a great year for me.
I'll have to go up north for those games.
I thought you might be in Tijuana still.
No, I'm not messing with Tijuana.